58 to now, my gosh, doesn't seem like a long time, but a lot of things have happened and a lot of things are changing. First of all, in 1958, this building had just been built. Okay, we were beginning to start to do some things over on this side. Not all of this building, just a portion of it. But they were building the gym at that time. They had moved the gym, so that happened in 58. In 50, and then later on they added on over here. But there was what's on that half of the building down there used to be part of the whole gym structure on that particular thing, and they used to have counseling rooms, and they used to have a few classrooms, and there was the place where the Jesuits stood up above and watched the basketball games from up on the top, and the like. So that kind of thing happened, changed, and then of course this happened. And then as you get a chance to walk around today, take a look. This place is it's exhausting to walk through. You know, when they built the theater about 15 years ago, for about the first year, I would go around every night and we'll make sure every door was locked. I never thought there would be ever that many doors anywhere. But that's slowly but surely we keep adding, and not only do we adding that, but we add a spirit around. There's a tremendous spirit in this school. Still, the students still love it. Yes, I do teach juggling. Okay, somebody asked, what do they, even my math class took juggling, and I would say, well, what do they say, what do they learn? I said, how to count to 3. And, but what I try to understand from what the young men are talking about is that they still want to be here. They're still excited for the place. However, they've changed a little bit. They're walking around with computers in their pockets, better known as cell phones. You know, if we were lucky to have chalk, you know, and the purple stuff that we used to make our test out of way back in the Middle Ages, and all that stuff's changed. And I can remember reading a book called Future Shock back in the Middle Ages, and when you look at what's going on right now, the time span that these young men are going through between things is phenomenal. And I often wonder, you know, if I had to, my mind has slowly gotten there, but they're sort of dumped into it right then and now. And so I think it's exciting. And oftentimes I would say to the young men that when I was teaching full time, you know, you probably learn things faster now than I ever thought of learning. I can remember teaching a math problem to some freshmen one year, a couple years ago, that took us on the little bitty graphing calculator approximately 8 minutes to get all the info in and out. When I was in college, we would have done the same problem in my statistics class, and it would take, we worked on the same problem for about 8 Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then finally puts the crank down and things happen. So things are happening phenomenally for them. And that's a challenge for the teachers, and it's a challenge for the young students, and they're doing very well at it. They're excited. In the area of fine arts, we're still having a blast. We graduated one of the most exciting group of young men last year, and they're all doing well in college. I had a chance a couple weeks ago to visit with one of them who's going to Yale, and came down from Yale, and we had dinner together and went to a show on Broadway, and they're having a blast. And we keep coming, and it's very exciting to be around what we can give to students these days. It's just exciting, and you know, and I look at them and I say, wow. You know, what is the world like?
How many people are here from the class of 52? How many from 57? What was the tuition the first year you started? I figure it was around $200. It's a little bit higher now. In 52 and 57, you probably had your choice of chemistry or physics as your science. And if you were lucky, no, pardon me, you had those in your junior and senior year. It wasn't until 1968 that we added another science class, and that was biology. I do believe the Jesuits were not, for some reason, the the numerical values were much more important than the physical values of the biological curriculum. I started in '67. I am wearing a tie because that is what you were required to do as a faculty member in 1967. Every faculty member wore a tie, and every faculty member wore a coat. And if you showed up without that, good old Father Sheehan had something to say about that. Also, Joe Schulte and a couple of other faculty members during the middle 60s to early 70s rebelled against that. Some of them even wore sweaters with ties, and some of them wore Nehru jackets, if anybody remembers what they were. When we introduced biology, for those of you that may not remember this, the older guys, there used to be a study hall up here in the second floor, and that was what I got to do the first year I was here as my extra duty. Sit in there from 8:15 till 9 o'clock, and you guys had silent study hall, if you kindly maybe or maybe do not remember that. Also teaching chemistry in those years, the first year, I don't know why we aren't in jail. The classes that we had, we were burning sulfur, burning phosphorus. Guys would throw the burning phosphorus into the sink because it would burn much brighter. We did not wear safety glasses. We did not have aprons. OSHA would be all over our case. That has changed tremendously. In the early 70s, we introduced introductory physical science, and essentially we had 4 classes of science, and over that period of time, we still only had one class that was required for graduation. Eventually, things were changed, and it became much more involved in teaching different things in science that we hadn't taught before. Those of you, he said, calculators, how many remember all the way up till 1990 when Mr. Hennick retired, what was hanging on his wall? The great big slide rule that hung up there. And calculators were something he particularly didn't care for. Now, those calculators have changed everything that we can do. We can do many more things. We can do many more experiments with computers. We have all of these assisted probes that we do things with. We can do many more experiments. Kids are having much more fun. I think they're having much more fun. Some of us have to learn how to use those computers, but they just ask them. They will tell you. Just like my grandkids tell me how to do everything on computers. But over the period of time, in the 90s, we got more faculty members involved in science. We went from the 2 classes back in the 50s to now where we have 10 different options that students can go through. We've moved chemistry from the junior year to the sophomore year. There was some trepidation on our part as to whether sophomores were brilliant enough to learn chemistry, but they did well, and they're doing fine in all the courses that we offer today. We introduced more AP courses in the late 90s. And now you can take AP Physics, AP Chemistry, AP Environmental Science, AP Biology, and a lot of them find out that they get to the college where they want to go to and they won't take the credit for it, but they are very appreciative of having gone through it because they can sit there and just ace it the next time through. I've had a lot of fun teaching here. My biology, my water polo and my hockey stuff, if somebody wants to talk about that, we can take some time to do that later this evening. But chemistry is what it was. I came here to teach, and I've had a lot of fun doing it, and I hope you've learned a lot from me, and I've learned an awful lot from you guys over this long run.
Mr. Schulte said that he was involved in interviewing me, which he was. And I do remember that after I was hired, he turned to me and he says, "You realize you're a necessary evil." And I said, "Oh, is that right?" He goes, "Yeah, if there was a Jesuit here who could do this job, you wouldn't be here." So it's about that point where the number of Jesuits started to decrease a little bit, but there was still over half of the faculty were Jesuits when I started here in 1973. So if you ask for a big change between then and now, that's a major change, which really caused the school to change quite a bit, because what happened was when I was hired, pretty much the lay people taught classes and coached, and the Jesuits handled all of the pastoral activities. Well, it was around 1980 or so when I remember Father Houlihan said to me, he says, I want you to go on a retreat, and I want you to help lead it. And I thought, Father, that's the Jesuits' job, not mine. And he goes, no, that's what we're going to start doing here. And so I think I was one of the few that started and got involved with the retreat program. And at that time, then all of a sudden, it was a couple years later, then all of a sudden I'm in charge of retreats. And this is how things moved along throughout the years. So in some ways, what's happening now, which I think is so much better than what happened at that time, is that all of us on the faculty are involved in every aspect of the school, including the religious aspect of the school. And you will see that all of the retreats really are led by our lay teachers. Of course, the Jesuits will come along to say the Mass and be there for the religious part. But in order to be a teacher here at the school, you really do have to buy in to what the school is all about, and that's the Jesuit mission. I also talk a little bit, since my job here now as the academic assistant principal, about where we are academically. As you know, as good of a program as you've had over the years when you were here, I think the program now is probably the strongest that it's ever been in the 40 years that I've been here. We talked about AP courses, the Advanced Placement Program, which is what's being accepted for college credit across the country. This past year, we had 935 AP exams given. If you think back, maybe when some of you took them, we were lucky if we had 20, 30, 40 AP exams we were given. We had some college credit through the 1818 program at SLUH, but now the AP program, which is recognized nationally, we are recognized nationally because of our scores and because of the number of students. We had over 400 students take AP exams. Just another example, like back when some of you were here, you may have taken calculus, and we maybe had one section or two sections of calculus. This year, our seniors, we have 8 sections of calculus. I mean, that's the kind of growth that we've had just in the math department alone. So I think the academic program is really, really strong. And I think that if you've got some family members thinking about St. Louis U High, that's something you really have to push. There aren't many schools in the area that can match those kind of results, at least for our AP program, the ACT scores, and so forth. I think that that's going to be really a strong word to get out to people that this is a place to be, that we're there, but we're also there because of the mission. We really do believe in all the things that happen here at school, not just the academics. Obviously, you're going to hear probably a little bit more about the athletics and the mission coming up here, but all the teachers here understand what it's like to be a teacher at St. Louis U High and really buy into it. It's a great place. I love it. Of course, been here for 40 years, still here. So does everybody else.
Thanks for being here tonight. Great to see you. Some of the guys from '87 reminded me of a certain story when I was brand new, and there was some barbarity in the cafeteria. And I looked as if I were a junior or senior. Moms used to ask me to let me see the ring. I got that when I was started. So there was this riot. Some food was being thrown, and I stood up on a chair and tried to shut the place down, which I did for about 6 seconds. That's my way of saying, when I think back to those years, the building was tougher. There were guys that would strong-arm people to pep rallies. There were guys that would poke holes in people's fried pies. There were some intimidating people. I was talking to a student. He was asking me about when I started here, and he said, were there fights? And I realized, yeah, there were. There were fights. I broke up a fight on retreat, at White House retreat. I'm not going to mention any names, but a guy leaped over a couch and started strangling his partner on his brother in the spirit there. The place was tougher, I remember when I got hired, they asked me, I was married. Was I married? Yeah. I had just gotten married. Well, you're going to teach a course on marriage. Good luck. There was no book. There was no plan. Nobody came in for years. I invented the course. SLUH is a very different place today than some of those things that I remember. The most important things are the same. The Jesuit presence. When I was started here, Hagen was here, and Bailey, and Sheehan. And you were absorbing from those guys what being a Jesuit was all about. Just the same way I feel like I do from Houlihan today. But what wasn't there was them talking a great deal about what being Jesuit meant and how we were all going to sort of catch the spirit of this. which is something that there was a long story of trying to figure out how to do that, and I think we're well down the road to doing that. It is not easy to do. Today I was at the provincial's residence with several folks, no Jesuits. Bob, who was there with us? Father, not Bershak. Gosh, why can't I think of it? Bob, Father Bob. Weiss. Not Weiss. Geez, I am getting old. I am 30 years here. One Jesuit at the table, 5 lay folks. And what were we talking about? We were talking about how to make sure we could find a way to extend the exercises to lay people. How could we take advantage of the Jesuit spiritual resources in St. Louis to find a way to pass this on? We're taking that project on in a real active way, and I think we're really beginning to figure out ways to do it. The fact that I have this job, assistant principal for mission, which is sort of a twofold job, faculty support and Catholic and Jesuit identity, and I'm a layperson to whom they've entrusted that job. I'm really grateful for that. The Jesuits have meant so much to me. I went to SLUH, I went to Fordham, and these many years here, I owe a great deal to the Jesuits, and they've had a more profound impact on me than I think I even realize, and I've thought about it a lot. So I would say that when I think back, SLUH is taking a much more systematic look at what classroom success requires. We are doing a much more systematic and intentional look at what Jesuit identity is all about, and how to form faculty members so that that wonderful tradition can be passed on to the young people that we're responsible for. We still need the Jesuits, and we're still really gratified that the Jesuit vocations continue from some guys that I taught. SLUH is a great source of vocations in this diocese and for the society. This is, I think, one of the great signs that we're a vital place. So a lot remains the same: the church, the sacraments, the Jesuits, our tradition of excellence, and a whole lot has changed in terms of the context of what the young men are dealing with culturally. We've all talked about the rise of science and technology. I'm extremely interested in how the church and the Jesuits are going to have to help our young people meet the challenge of managing science and managing technology as we continue to try to keep a hold of our human scale lives and our openness to the Spirit and to God. This is not easy to do. I give a speech every time a retreat leaves the building to the boys about how we don't want their cell phones on them, we don't want iPods on them, we don't want them accessing the internet for 3 or 4 days they're on retreat. This really takes some convincing. It takes some convincing of the young faculty to believe we can actually do it. But there are brand new challenges that are exciting, and there's a lot of energy being directed into maintaining the Jesuit identity here. So we have a fantastic retreat program. We have an amazing service program in which kids go out and not only serve, but are encouraged to reflect on that service. Teams of students are involved in planning liturgies in a way that I think you all would really be impressed with and happy about. And new teachers are given, I think, a really wonderful orientation to who the Jesuits are and what they're all about and how much we're counting on them to bring that mission forward. So those are a few things that are specific, but in general, I think the mission's in good hands, and I'm delighted to be a part of that.
As I look at you guys, I always think of the phrase, tradition never graduates. And the tradition that you guys have forged here at this school, the young men have picked that up and have ran with it. And you should be very, 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 very proud of that. I've kind of broken down my remarks into parents, school, and athletics. The parents now are different than the parents than when I first started teaching back in 1973 at Our Lady of Lourdes Grade School. There are a lot of parents whose sons and daughters who are involved with athletics who feel that this is the only way that my son or daughter is going to get a college education, is through an athletic scholarship. You know, I think the last time that I read, it was like 88% of the money for college is academic and like 12% is athletic. So you kind of figure out what you should emphasize to your sons and daughters, what they should be doing. I mean, athletics are great. I mean, they are a co-curricular here at this school. But the emphasis on academics seems to have kind of lost its kilter a little bit. So that's one thing that I've noticed that's really, really changed. from an athletic standpoint, I know especially you guys who have graduated in the 50s, you look back and say, boy, why don't they have that intramural program like they used to have on the weekends? And we'd come down and take the bus down or the streetcar down, and the place would be hopping on Friday night and Saturday and Sunday, and the scholastics and would run it. And times have changed. So many boys have jobs now. So many boys have cars now. We still have an intramural program, but it's run every day during activity period. And they still have bash ball, and they still have basketball. So, I mean, those days of, boy, let's go down to SLUH on Saturday afternoon, and let's get involved in that intramural program. I mean, that's changed. Students today are more specialized when it comes to athletics. That really was driven home to me again a couple months ago. We have a young man in this school who's 6'9", and he played basketball his freshman and sophomore year. And I talked to him in the hallway, and he said, Mr. Wehner, my specialized pitching coach doesn't think that I should play basketball anymore. Well, he's already committed baseball to Indiana, and is decommitted and is now recommitted to TCU. And the specialization of whether it be soccer, baseball, basketball, football, I mean, a lot of these kids today are going outside their coaches at high school, and they're meeting with strength and conditioning coach, pitching coach, hitting coach, shooting coach, free throw coach. So that's really changed. That culture of athletics is really changed. A lot of times some of our coaches will hear, yeah, I know that you told me to do this, coach, but my specialized coach thinks I should shoot this way. So that's something that's really, really changed. Off-season training and nutrition and conditioning. I'll never forget, it happened at Maryville during 1991, and I was standing there on the sidelines, and I saw the first kid I ever saw from St. Louis U High dunk a basketball during the game, and that was David Reese. And I said, did he just do that? And now I look down there after school when the guys are playing pickup games, they're dunking right and left. The nutrition and the training that these boys are getting now, as compared to when you guys played sports, it's really grown in leaps and bounds. The emergence, I would say, one of the big changes here at St. Louis U High is the emergence of club sports, of sports that are not recognized by Missouri State High School Activities Association. Listen to some of the sports now. Hockey. This is what we have: hockey, lacrosse, inline hockey, rugby, ultimate frisbee, racquetball, rifle. At one time, the spring used to be the time of the year where the athletic director would kind of coast. Well, there's not much going on. Well, we've got volleyball now in the spring. We've got ultimate frisbee in the spring. We've got lacrosse in the spring. We've got over 100 kids involved in a lacrosse program. We've got over 100 kids involved in cross country. We've got over 100 kids. That's part because of this guy, what he did to the cross country program. We've got over 100 kids involved in track. Those are sports that when you guys went here, you looked and said, well, we've got a few guys out for cross country. We've got about 40 guys out for track. All that, and then included with these club sports, it's really, the growth has been phenomenal. There's junior high programs now. We have a couple of junior high programs that come on campus. There are 3 junior high football programs that come on campus. Many of the coaches are SLUH alums who play a grade school program. We also, this year, there is a junior high basketball program that wants to come on campus and use our facilities to play a junior high program. So that's something that has changed. One of the big challenges, I think, that's when you guys were here, you guys that played football, or you guys that played basketball, or you guys that ran track, you might have had, well, Emmett Hannock was my coach. Paul Martell and Ebby Dunn were my coach. You know, Dom Kalachi and a Scholastic was my track coach. We have, right now on the varsity baseball program, we have 4 coaches in the varsity baseball program, just coaching varsity. Pitching coach, hitting coach, Mr. Nicole Rod, and 3 of those guys are off-campus coaches. We have off-campus coaches in almost every single sport. One of the challenges from an athletic director standpoint is to try to inculcate the Jesuit tradition and the St. Louis U High tradition to these guys and gals that come off campus and coach our boys. And that's a real challenge. That's a real challenge. The erosion of sportsmanship. I know a lot of you guys see that on TV, especially in the last 3 or 4 weeks with in football. You've seen a lot of gibbering back and forth. That all filters down to the high school level. I just have a question. When did intimidation become a part of high school sports? When did getting up and pointing at somebody, standing over somebody, holding the football in front of them, you know, shaking your fist at the batter when you strike them out? When did all of that come into high school athletics? Well, it's filtered down from the professional ranks into the college ranks and now into the high school level. And that's a challenge that we all face here at SLUH. From a school-wise, oh geez. One of the things that they talked about was service outreach. You can't believe the service programs here we have at St. Louis U High. We have a whole department of community service. You guys would, I remember a lot of you guys would probably say, oh yeah, my service was my senior project. Service here starts in the freshman year in high school. Freshman is a 4-year commitment. A young man, we are striving to have service as a part of the young man's life. In the athletic program, we really stress a lot about each team taking on some type of service program. I know the cross-country team this past summer helped build a house. The baseball team was involved in the Challenger program, which brings a lot of disadvantaged kids on our campus. The soccer team has already done something for Special Olympics, and they're doing something out at Soccer Park for kids that are autistic. The football team, in the memory of our dear coach, Coach Tykonovich, who died of cancer, does a walk for cancer every year. And so those are just some of the things that we do that probably wasn't done or probably wasn't thought of in years past. Guys, SLUH to me is, as a non-grad of this school, this place is something special. This place has made me a better dad. This place has made me a better husband. This place has made me a better Catholic. It's definitely made me a better teacher. As I look at my life as a teacher, it's gone from a job to a vocation to a true ministry. Yes, I'm the athletic director of this school, but my biggest job is Monday through Friday, first period, room 115, when I greet 22 sophomores, and I teach them New Testament, and I teach them sacraments, and then I teach them, we teach each other sexuality and dating. And guys, as you know, I did listen to you, and I ended up with 10 children, so thank you, I appreciate it. I just want you to know, all of us up here, we realize we stand on the shoulders of the giants who have gone before us. I'll never forget Father Sheehan. I went to him one time and I told him I was worried about the lack of Jesuits here at St. Louis U High. And he looked at me and he said, Dick, I want to tell you something. This school, this was about 1990. He looked at me and said, Dick, I want to tell you something. This school is more Jesuit now than it was back in 1955. And I never forgot that. So again, gentlemen, thank you for being a part of my life and what you guys have taught me. This is a great place to be. And thank you for all you do for all of us and all our students. Thank you.